Shalom, Israel. So today we're going to look at things from the standpoint of the Most High and things from the standpoint of us as humans, right? So we're going to look at Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 8. It says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Most High." Right? So what he's saying is the way we perceive things and the way his intentions are, they are not the same, right? So he himself is reality, right? He himself is God. When we look at reality, we don't see reality for what it is. We see our perception of reality, right? Now, what happened is what we call good and evil. From his standpoint, it's called the nature of wisdom. Good and evil is just a concept of the human mind, right? For example, when we look at things, especially in this Western culture, we see only good and bad, right? So we will look at a deed and say, oh, that deed is terrible, or it's cruel, or it's wicked. However, what we need to understand is an action is always neutral. An action is always neutral. Good and evil is just in the intention, right? So when you look at these things, right? How we perceive them, we might see them as good, even if the intention is cruel, because we more relate to things based on how we feel about them. So let's look at this. A job, right? These people, they give us jobs, right? We look at it as a good thing because we're able to pay our bills by this, by pay for water. I mean, water should be free. The land itself, the water is there in the land. You have rivers, right? But you're paying for it. We don't see that as evil because you have a job to pay for your water, right? So again, like I said, goes back to the intention and the perception. So if they give us jobs, right? But in getting the job, the intention is to separate families, right? If the intention is to separate families, now what becomes of this action? The intent is evil, so now it becomes a minus, right? So it's a negative, right? But what if the person gives you a job to maintain your family, to keep your family together and sustain them, right? So they don't have to go all over the place. Guess what? Maintain. The intention is now what? Positive. So an action that was neutral, the intentions can either be negative or positive, good or evil, curse or blessing, right? Now, another thing, you remember back then we were not allowed to read, and they were not allowed to teach the children and so forth, right? In slavery. Now they give us schools. We might see it as a good thing because now we're able to read, to communicate, to speak their languages, and integrate in some shape, form, or fashion. So the school, the education system, which would be neutral, now based on the intention, right? If my intention is I'm going to teach you about my people, my culture, my policies, my religions, and I'm going to stop you. You remember, like back in the time of Daniel, how they would not allow them to pray to their gods and so forth, their God to his God. They made that decree, right? So they don't want you to connect back with your people, your lineage, your history. So this code system has now a negative intention. The intention becomes negative because it is to keep you enslaved spiritually and mentally, right? But what if you're getting an education system that is now teaching you um, your true history, your roots, where you are from, everything is an upliftment, right? So the intention is now positive, right? Now their hospital, their medical systems, their facilities, everything, right? If their intention is to um, let you destroy your flesh so you can come back to them where they can keep um, uh, making revenues, right? So if this is their intention, so you keep coming, you pay this high bill for the whatever you need, medicines, whatever it is it that you need. This is their intention. Then this now becomes wicked, right? But what if you had a system where it teaches you, do not do this, do not eat this, do not have perform these sexual immoralities? Guess what? This intention is now good because it helps you to sustain life and prevent these diseases, right? So this is always neutral. The action is always neutral, but based on the intent, it's either negative or positive, right? Now, roads. We have certain places where they will be connected like this. Okay. So for example, this would be the main road. This would be the main road. But in here you would have different communities. But the roads here are very bad. You cannot drive your vehicle to connect these places. It's too bad. Right? And you don't want to damage your vehicle. So you have to use their main roads. So even if you want to move from here to come right here, it's like you drive all the way around to come back around here. You pay more gas, you have to go through their checkpoints. So when the police are on the road checking for paperwork and whatever, seat belts, they can always tax you, right? If these places were to be connected inside here, what would have happened? They would be able to develop or move faster with businesses, right? They don't have to go through the central points like their cities, their towns. You can just support each other and build, right? So it's a form of control. So if their intention to not fix or connect certain roads is to keep down the what can I say? Keep down a community or a group of communities, so they don't flourish, right? So it is to keep them poor. The intention of the road conditions would be wicked, right? Or if they are building roads, like I said, with their main roads, right? If it's just to channel where they have their businesses that you have to pass through, their taxation systems, the police stations and so forth, even though they're doing a good thing to build the road, because the intention is wicked, this is what happens, right? Over here would be negative, so over here would be positive. If now they are building roads to connect so people can do businesses with each other without having to go through them, then the intention is positive. If they do it for development. right? So think about this. If you remember in the time of the Ottoman Empire, right? After they conquered the Byzantine and so forth, what did they do to the Silk Road? They disconnected the Silk Road, right? They disconnected a lot of that, and the Silk Road was used for a lot of trade with, people further east or south, China and those regions back to Europe and so forth. So when they got rid of the Silk Road in certain areas, what happened is that because Europe could not get foods from Asia, right? People in Europe could not get those things. They were going into that starvation, right? So the intention of them cutting off the road to cut off food supplies would be wicked, which is the same that I just mentioned here. They don't build the road, or they condemn the roads to cut off food supplies so they can have control over how you are being fed, right? So the intention is no wicked. Good. So it's the same thing. Now, regarding this, helping the fatherless. No, a lot of men, they will help children, they will help your son, they will help your daughter, right? But if they're helping with the intention to lure in the mother, you know how men prey upon single mothers and how mothers feel about their children. So as soon as they find a man that spend time with the children, taking care of the children, teaching them, they are attracted to that kindness, that generosity, right? But if the intention is wicked, then this deed now becomes, this action becomes a minus, right? Because the intention is just to get to the mother. After he finds his way to the mother, then all this is done away with because it was not sincere in the first place, right? Now, if a man is helping the fatherless with a pure heart, his actions are sincere because he wants to see the child become a good man to take care of his mother or her mother, whatever it is, then the intention, the deed becomes a positive. It's good, right? No. Staring at a man or a woman, right? You know how it goes with, jealousy and stuff like that. Now, if you're sitting with your woman or your man, whatever it is, now you see a nice or beautiful woman passing by and you're staring at her, but your intention looking at her is just saying, oh wow, she's beautiful, but you don't have any desire to possess. You don't want her, you don't want to be with her, you're not thinking any thoughts regarding that. Then the intention of that would be positive, so there would be no need for the person to be jealous because you're just looking for looking's sake. You have no you have no desire to possess. No. If the woman is staring at this muscular man, that he's this tall guy and whatever, but in her mind she wants to possess, there is a desire to possess that person, this is when this becomes wicked. So the action is now a minus. Or it's the same thing if the man is staring at a woman with the thoughts in the mind of, wow, what I would do with her, and I would want to feel this or touch that, and then it becomes wicked. But like I said, actions are neutral. It's only from the concept of the human mind we divide the world in two, good and bad, right? So when certain things that we would call terrible or wickedness or evil, from the standpoint of this from the Most High, it is just righteous indignation. How do we see it? Good and evil, right? So think about World War III. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be a lot of deaths, right? Now, from the standpoint of the rulers of the kingdoms today, we know the rulers of the kingdoms. Their kingdoms will be destroyed. Everything they own will fall apart. From their standpoint, they will say such an evil thing done to them. But in that very act, there are other people on the other end who are suffering at their whips. For those people, it's going to be a token of salvation, right? So that one event, let me put it here. The one event, World War III, right? The intention of the Most High is to redeem those in bondage, right? For those people, it will be considered as good. This action is now good, right? But for the people who own these slaves, no, on their end is going to be destruction. So their perception of World War III is going to be did I write this correct? Okay. This one should be, hold on. This one here should be the destruction side. Destruction. And over here should be salvation. Right? So from the standpoint of the slaves, World War III is going to be a good thing. While for the rulers of the kingdoms, World War III is going to be destruction. So then one event is going to be considered as good for some people, and the opposite side is going to be considered as bad for the other people, right? So like I said, an action is just an action, right? It's how we divide the world into good and evil, and with that comes curse and blessing. So I hope you understand this. I hope it's clear enough to understand that the way we see things as human is different. As humans, is very different from what reality is. This is why people say there is no actual reality, but perception of reality. Because two of us can be looking at the same thing, and we're seeing two different things. There are different perceptions. However, reality is one. God is one. Right? Shalom.